What's up, guys? It's your main man Richie Rich, aka Coach Babs, and welcome to the Think Strong Be Strong channel. It's Monday, so it's video day. If you're brand new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button, and also hit the notifications bell so you can see when I drop another video. FYI, I try to drop one every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. Always appreciate you. So we're going to have a quick conversation today on self-love. Do you love yourself? And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean it more in a self-care kind of way. But we'll discuss that in a few moments. So without further ado, let's get to it, shall we? Hey guys, welcome back. So when I first came out of my last major relationship, well, my marriage, I embarked on a obsessive type nature, and I was in a very, very bad place. And I spent my time drinking daily, and really just isolating myself from the rest of the world. And I drank a lot, and I just wasn't in the best place communication wise, socially wise, or anything. And I drink from morning till night, or anytime I got some money, I'd buy a bottle of whiskey or vodka, and I'd just drink, or red wine, and I'd just drink. Sometimes I'd drink to forget. Sometimes I'd drink to escape. You know, I just didn't want to think about how bad things were going. And although we had broken up, we were still in the same house. So for a bit, I'd come back home real late. And then, I say home, I'd come back to the house real late, make sure the kids were in bed, say goodnight to them, and then we'd just stay in separate rooms, you know? And it wasn't a great place, it wasn't a good time. Then when I moved out into my own place, I developed another obsessive nature, which was working out. And I would train 6-7 days a week, twice a day. Again, I'd make no time for anything social. And I'd just go hard in the gym. Wanted to prove to myself that I was good at something, that I could complete something or get a result. The running joke was, I'm married to the gym, at least she don't complain, and I know what buttons to push and I seem to get it right. That was the running joke. But you know how sometimes we project what we feel inside outside, but in a form of humor. So that was the running joke. But for me, it became an obsessive nature. I remember a time when I was going so much that the receptionist, who I talked to every now and then when I was going to the gym, she one day said to me, she was like, dude, for 6 months straight, you've been here twice a day, 7 days a week. Like, don't you have a girlfriend or anybody to go home to? And I laughed, and I'd be like, I'm married to the gym. But I developed an unhealthy obsession with training. Now, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with being married to the goal, but it's very easy to develop an obsessive nature if you've come from a dark place, And although I made some incredible gains, and the transformation was, amazing, the drive behind why I was doing it was unhealthy and didn't really indicate how much I might have loved myself at the time. Now, I've titled this video Self-Love and Do You Love Yourself? And there is a reason. So I developed this nature and I became very obsessive, and I targeted myself around sports-based activities. I needed to prove to myself that I was good enough, and that I wasn't a fluke, or I wasn't always a chance, and it wasn't always by luck. I was trying to prove to myself at the time that I was good enough. So I developed this obsessive nature, and I'd avoid social contact with people who didn't want to do the things I did. So if you went on the training hype, there's not really much we could talk about. I just didn't, I had no confidence or love for myself to want to connect with anything outside of what I called the norm, which was just training, go hard or go home, eat, gym, train, repeat, sleep, and all that jazz. You can tell I've grown out of the phrase now because I don't even know the right phrase anymore. But I was on this obsessive nature of proof. I need to prove to myself that I'm enough. I need to prove to myself I'm good enough. I need to prove to myself I can make it happen. And these thoughts had always been within me. From when I was younger, certain comments they'd make to you at school. He'd be so good if only he applied himself more, or he has potential, but, or you know what, he could be all this, but, or he's not as intelligent for this, so we've, and it was things like that. And I guess sometimes thoughts or words like that never really leave you. As you get older, they just sit dormant in your mind, and then certain things will happen in life that will trigger these thoughts and memories, and they will creep to the surface and play on you. So I think after my marriage ended, those thoughts came back stronger than ever. And although I had been to therapy for stuff or counseling, and talked through them, there were some things where talking through it wasn't enough. You had to change something. You'd have to start working on your mindset and how you think or feel about yourself. And at the time, I believed I was very good at showing love to others. I'd be there for them no matter what. I'd put myself in harm's way for the people I love. That expression, I'd take a bullet for the person I love or for the people I love. Like you chat shit to my brother, or I remember there's a time when we were in a club a long time ago, before my ex-wife first came up to Leeds, and we were out in the club and we were doing our thing, and this guy came over to my brother and he was just talking the most and talking the hardest. And the moment he raised his hand to my brother, I didn't even hesitate, split second. He was on, my brother's on the right hand side, I was on the left hand side. He swung to the left, my brother moved, and I was right there to deliver a devastating blow. Do you know what I mean? To stun him back. And then my brother just jumped him, and then this big fight had kicked off. But this is all because of how much I love my brother. I won't let no one raise their hand to my brother. Again, I remember moving forward, like when my daughter came to me and told me how some kid called her ugly in school, and then I flipped out, and I was like, next time he says that, tell him your dad said this. Do you know what I mean? And teacher complained to my ex-missus saying, my daughter's dad's threatened one of the kids. And I was like, I didn't threaten the kid. I just told my daughter to tell him that if he says it again, my dad's going to come to the school, because I love my kid. Don't be telling my daughter she's ugly. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? So, I felt that when it came to loving others, there's nothing I wouldn't do for that person. The only problem was I didn't love myself the same way I would show love for other people. Yeah, I've got pride. We all have pride. And we all have a level of self-preservation, but I think for me, the level of self-preservation I had wasn't enough to show that I loved myself, because I put myself in some compromising situations which wouldn't do well for my mental well-being, my physical well-being, but all for the sake of somebody else, or all for the sake of something that I'm trying to do or trying to accomplish. And I'm going in like a savage, but I'm not thinking about myself or anything like that. So I think I know that after the breakdown of my marriage, it just went spiraling down, 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 and I became so detached from the normal world, and so detached from myself in terms of taking care of myself mentally and emotionally, and only focused on physically, there was no level of self-love, no level of self-preservation, no protection against myself. And I'd go into relationships, well, not even relationships, I'd go into casual affairs, like I'm just trying to get mine and then bounce. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't really care about anything. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't sleeping around with anybody or everybody, but anybody that I'd get involved with, it'd be 1-2, 1-2, and that's it. So let's just say there were periods in my life where self-destruction was happening knowingly or unknowingly. There'd be periods where I'd lose a job, or I'd not get accepted for an application, or I'd be without money, and I'd just beat myself up so bad. I'd criticize myself so much that I had no self-belief in myself either. Like if it came to something physically sports related, yeah, I'd be okay with that. Could have trained myself, you know, but anything else, I'd just be down, and it'd be a cycle, a pattern. One minute he'd be bubbly, he'd be chatting, he'd be laughing. Next minute he'd go ghost for a while, then he'd disappear from the world, then he'd go off social media, and then he'd be dark and gloomy, and then nobody would hear from him, and then it'd be back again, and then you know, something would go wrong, and then he'd disappear again. And this was a thing. And then somebody asked me, do you love yourself? Back then, somebody asked me, how much do you love yourself? You don't look out for yourself. You need to look after yourself. And I always assumed looking out for yourself or looking after yourself at the time was just make sure you're eating. And I wasn't sleeping very much back then either. I barely sleep enough now, but you know, I'm an overthinker. I think of things. But yeah, it was a different period. So I guess it came to a point where I was just in my down rock bottom period, and then I started listening to, you know, watching motivational videos and playing them as I slept, because I believe that my subconscious mind would pick up most of this stuff when I was sleeping and then remind me in everyday activities when I'm awake. So I started listening and watching stuff, and you know, it was a case where I believe it might have been Les Brown, or it might have been Tony Robbins. Can't remember which one of the two it was, but it was just talking about loving yourself and what you would allow yourself to be exposed to, the kind of people that you'd allow yourself to be exposed to, the kind of actions you would allow yourself to be part of, the kind of people that you would allow yourself to be surrounded by. Like, when you love people around you, do you stand and watch them get hurt? Do you stand and watch them walk into something that could hurt them or destroy them knowingly without offering some advice or trying to protect them? Would you, if your daughter came to you and told you about how she doesn't feel, your daughter or your son came to you and told you how they don't feel worthy enough, or they don't feel special, or they feel like crap, or they feel rubbish all the time, or they think they're bad, would you allow them to talk like that about themselves, knowing how much you love them? Would you not sit them down to address why do they feel the way they feel and try and help them to not feel that way? Would you not do that? Or would you just sit there and agree and be like, yeah, you're right, because of whatever? Would you do that? Well, I like to believe with all of you, the answer is no. Or at least with most of you, the answer is no, if you say you love them. And I said to myself, well, no, I won't allow that. And how can I sit down and give advice about looking out for yourself and taking care of yourself and loving yourself if I don't even love myself? Like, if I don't appreciate myself, if I don't value myself, how can I then teach or encourage my children to value themselves? How can I even encourage them to love somebody else or value somebody else if you can't value yourself? You know, my dad always said charity begins at home. And loving another person begins with knowing how to love yourself. So I had to go back and love myself and teach myself how to love myself. First thing I had to ask myself is, what do you like? What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? Why does it make you happy? Why do these things resonate with you? You know, yeah, I love training. I love the gym. I love lifting heavy stuff. I like the feeling I get, the buzz. I like the people that I interact with. This is my place. These are my people. I'm a geek. I like sci-fi. I love sci-fi. I love Marvel. I love DC. I'm a nerd. I embraced it. I've been this way for the longest time. I come to life when we talk about superheroes. So that was another thing. I love nature. I enjoy walking out in nature. I enjoy walking by the water. I enjoy, for a first date, I enjoy going on a walk or a picnic or something for first dates. You know, I love to dance. I love to sing. I love spending time with my children. I love just enjoying my company and not wanting to speak to people. Like I had to sit down and ask myself these questions and why, and then allow myself to not feel guilty for wanting to enjoy these things and do these things when I wanted to do it. Not because I want to escape from people, but because I enjoy doing it. I had to find what was my favorite color. I don't have a favorite color. I just wear what I think looks good. I had to ask myself, what music do I like listening to all over again? Believe it or not, because you can lose yourself and forget yourself. So I had to find things that I enjoyed reconnecting with the world with. Then I had to ask myself, what don't I like? What am I not a fan of? Why am I not a fan of it? What's the reason? Can I become a fan of it again? Or is it just something that I just genuinely don't like? What don't I enjoy? What will I tolerate? What is a no-no for me? What is a no-no for me to experience with other people? These are questions, again, I had to ask myself and then allow myself to not feel guilty for these things, because you have to know what you like and what you don't like and understand it fully so you can communicate it with people around you so they know how to treat you, because you have to understand how to treat yourself and be okay with yourself before you can allow somebody else to know how to treat you. So these are the questions I ask myself, and these are the questions I always ask myself even up till today, because self-love never stops. How would I allow myself to be treated? There is a saying, do unto others as you would like them to do for you or to you. So treat others the way you would like to be treated. So how do I like to be treated? If the shoe was on my foot and somebody said such and such to you, how would you respond? Okay. So then how would you like to be responded to? Okay. So a lot of things like that I would do. Where do I like to visit? Why do I like to visit these things? Am I comfortable within myself? Do I like the way that I look? Why don't I like the way that I look? What can I change? Is it you that doesn't like the way you look, or is it because people have said it? Do you understand? All different things I would ask myself. Do you understand? And then the most important thing I would say to myself is, do I like you? Look in the mirror. Do you like yourself? Why don't you like yourself? Is it because of what you've experienced in the past, what other people said to you, or is it because of what you feel when you look in the mirror? And are you happy with the way things are right now? Knowing that it may not be the same forever, and knowing there's a possibility it may change in your favor or possibility it may not change in your favor. Are you okay with it? Like, these are the things I would say to myself. And then finally, which is the one I always struggle with, is how I feel about the things that I wear or the things that I'm doing or the expectations that people might have had on me. Am I okay with not meeting their expectations? Does that bother me? I'm okay rocking this outfit. I'm okay with this hairstyle. Like, am I okay with the choices that I'm making in my life? Some people may not like the choices you're making because they saw you in a different place, but are you okay with that? Like, I always asked myself, do you like yourself today? Why don't you like yourself? Or what do you like about yourself? And always list both sides and keep asking myself this until it became a point where I was like, do you love yourself? Or are you in love with yourself? Are you feeling yourself today? Like, when I say feeling yourself, I don't mean as in feeling well. I mean, when you look in the mirror, are you feeling yourself? Are you liking the way you're feeling, you're moving? You like the way you like the way these clothes drop on you? Do you like the way this? Yeah, when you do certain things, how does that make you feel? Like, you've succeeded in this. How does it make you feel? Are you good with that? Yo, do you know what I mean? questions like that I would always ask myself, and I still ask myself. And I think it's important that you do it too. Loving yourself first begins with liking yourself. Liking yourself tends to begin with, what do you like about yourself? Liking yourself also has to include what you don't like and why you don't like it. What effects do these things have on the way you see yourself? It doesn't always have to just be how you look in the mirror, but that also helps too. How do you feel when you look in the mirror? How do you feel when you look at the things you've got around you? How do you feel when you look at the things you don't have around you? How do you feel when you've not reached the goal at the time you said you thought you were going to reach it, or at the time when people expect you to reach it? Like yourself first. Learn to like yourself a whole lot more than you dislike yourself. Accept the fact there are going to be times when you don't like certain things you've done. But like yourself. And the more you like, the more you will begin to love. Because that's how it worked for me. I started with liking myself. And from liking myself, I learned to love myself. And now when somebody asks me, do I love myself? I say, I love myself a lot more than I did before. Because it's been a journey. It's been a process. It's still a process. It's going to be a process for all of you. And it's a continuous process. It is like learning. You never stop learning in life. So you'll never stop learning to like yourself and love yourself. You're going to have days when you're not feeling yourself. You're going to have days when you're not feeling certain things the way it's happened. That's okay. Don't fall out with yourself. Be annoyed for a period. Get back up and try and sort out things or whatever. But don't fall out with yourself. Don't dislike yourself just because. You find there are a lot more things to love about yourself and like about yourself than there is to dislike about yourself. And the beautiful things about the things that you dislike about yourself, you could always do something about it to turn it into something that you do like about yourself regarding that thing. Or you could find something in it to like, to grow you to the next stage of liking it. So you could always change the things you don't like, and you could always enhance the things you do like. And because we're always going to grow and we're always going to evolve, we're always going to change, we're always going to find new things that we can do that we didn't know we could do. We're always going to find new things that we didn't know we didn't like, or we're always going to grow out of stuff and grow into stuff. So there are always going to be reasons to like things about you, and people will always point out things they like about you too. So as much as we take to heart what people say they don't like about us, we should also take to heart the things that people do say they do like about us, because they will reinforce the reasons that we like ourselves, and they will also add fire and fuel reasons to love ourselves. So now when somebody says to me, do you love yourself? I can say, yeah. And there's a thin line between do you love yourself and, oh my God, you love yourself, you're so full of it. You understand? And that's a lesson we learn in time, to still remain humble. You know what I mean? Love ourselves, but not be too proud and too arrogant. Love ourselves, but not be too much of a show off. Do you know what I mean? But that's a topic we can talk about on another occasion, because that's a whole different thing, and that's a lot bigger than just a few words here or there. But there is a fine line. Sometimes there can be a fine line between do you love yourself and, oh my God, you love yourself. You know what I mean? But like yourself first. Like yourself. Embrace yourself. Look after yourself. Then, as time goes on, like will turn to love. And you will fall in love with yourself, and then you will love yourself. Because you fall in love, don't you? And then you love. Or some people, they love and then they fall in love. But it all starts with liking anyway. You don't walk up to go, oh my God, I love you. You like, and then you become infatuated, and then you fall in love, and then you love, or you become infatuated, and then you love, and then you fall in love. But it all starts with like. So like yourself. Find reasons to like yourself. Find ways of turning what you don't like about yourself into ways to like yourself. But like yourself. I like myself. And I love myself now. And I treat those the way I want to be treated myself. So therefore, I try my best not to disrespect people. I try. Nobody's perfect. But yeah, like yourself, then love yourself. I hope I've explained this video as best as I can. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a comment in the box below. Like I always say, live your life one step, one rep at a time. Think strong, be strong. And remember, impossible is nothing. And I'll leave you with this question. Do you love yourself? Take it easy, guys. Peace.